Hey guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I am doing the Guilty Reader book tag. So this is a tag that was created a couple years ago, but unfortunately the original video is not available anymore, but it was originally created by a person named Shammy from the channel Read Like Wildfire. I found the tag from A Clockwork Reads, so I will leave her video in the description for you guys because the original video is no longer available. So this is a tag that's basically talking about some of the guilty things you've done, like if you haven't read a certain book yet or anything like that. So I'm gonna get into the questions and let's just see how much I can divulge that I'm apparently guilty about. So the first question is, have you ever regifted a book that you've been given? And I can honestly say I do not believe so. I do not think I have ever received a book that I have regifted, but I will say that I think I have sold some books that I may have gotten as gifts that I ended up not liking and had wanted to unhaul them. I can't remember exactly which ones, but I don't believe I've ever regifted them to give to somebody else. Question 2 is, have you ever said you read a book when you haven't? Yes, I have done this, mostly with books that I was supposed to read for like certain classes in college, but more often than not, I was able just to kind of talk about some of the themes that I had already known were a part of the book and have conversations about them, mostly because a lot of times I wouldn't write on the coattails of my classmates, but when we would be talking about certain topics within the book that, you know, I had some ideas on already based on other books I had read, I could kind of contribute to the conversations despite not having read the books specifically that we were talking about. So I kind of skirted my way through some classes by doing that, but I have never told someone that I have read a book that I haven't when it came to books that I actually wanted to read that were outside of a class, if that makes sense. Question 3 is, have you ever borrowed a book and not returned it? No, I've always returned the books I borrowed. I might have been late a couple of times, but I always returned it. Question 4 is, have you ever read a series out of order? And yes, I've actually done this, and it was completely by accident because I had no idea that it was the third book in a series as opposed to what I thought I was the second book. And I did this with the Confessions of a Murder Suspect series by James Patterson and Maxine Petro. So the thing is with this, I thought that one of the books in the series, the Paris Mysteries, was the second book in the series. I don't know why I thought that, it just seemed it was the second book, but I found out about halfway through the book that it was actually the third book in the series. But surprisingly, I was able to read through it and have no problems. There was only some mention of things that had happened in the second book that I had missed, but it was pretty much its own story, so you probably could have read it out of order and had been okay. And it was just a very strange moment for me when I had realized that it was actually the third book instead of the second. Like, I sat there and I was like, oh. The next question is, have you ever spoiled a book for someone? And I think I have, but it was because the person had asked me to just tell them something that was going to happen within it because they weren't actually going to read it themselves, so they were okay with having been spoiled for it. So that's the thing, is like, if you're going to spoil something for somebody, it's always good to like make sure that the person actually wants to be spoiled. I've never spoiled something for anybody unintentionally. Have I ever dog-eared a book? No. And it's not that I'm a snob about the pristineness of my books. I've just never seen a point to it. It's never been a way that I have bookmarked my books. I always have a bookmark of some kind with my books because that's just how I've always done it. If anything, honestly, it might have been something that my grandmother had taught me to not do because my grandmother was, I believe, one of the people that would get irritated by dog-earing books. So I think she was the one that always had taught me to have a bookmark on hand. Have you ever told someone that you don't own a certain book when you do? I don't think so. I don't see why you would do that other than to make it so that you kind of have a better library. But even then, like, why would you do that? That makes no sense. Have you ever told someone that you have not read a book when you actually have? I don't think so. Again, I don't understand some of these questions because it makes no sense to lie about some things that you've done with reading. Like, if you're proud of the reading that you've done over the course of your life, why would you have to tell somebody that you haven't read something when you actually have? Like, I understand if you don't want certain people to know that maybe you've read like 50 Shades or Twilight or something like that. But even then, like, that's a part of your reading journey. Either you read it because you were interested, or you were reading it to kind of get a laugh out of it. And either way, you know, you still read it. So why would you just completely deny the fact that you have read it because of the fact that you're just embarrassed? I just don't understand why people would lie about some of the things that they've read. Like, yes, it would be embarrassing to have read 50 Shades, but at the same time, you still read it. I just don't understand why people would have to lie about some things. I guess I'm not someone that lies about anything because I've always been an open book kind of person. Have you ever skipped a chapter or a section of a book? Not that I recall, and if I did, it was because I was not really even reading the book, but it was more I was skimming through to find something within that book. I don't believe I've actually ever, though, intentionally, while reading a book fully, that I've skipped a section or a chapter, because even though there are a lot of books that have very slow parts, I want to read those slow parts because I want to understand, you know, my entire thought of the story. And yes, there might be parts that are like dragging on, but I have to read those parts still because for one, I might miss something, and for two, it will add to my overall review of the story to be able to point out certain parts that are slow that might not be as enjoyable as the rest of the book, and then therefore will be a part of my whole rating of the book. And the last question is, have you ever badmouthed a book that you've actually liked? Again, why would you lie about this stuff? If you like a book, talk about it. If you like a book, tell people you like it and why. What is it with people that try to lie about stuff? I don't understand that. But anyway, that is the Guilty Reader book tag. Obviously, I don't have a lot of guilts when it comes to reading. I'm very much an open book like I normally am, so I am not someone that lies about stuff. I don't understand why people think that lying about things that they've read or haven't read or anything like that is fine, because people are either going to find out anyway, or you're just going to end up telling the truth about it anyway, that you haven't read something, or that you have read something, or that you badmouthed something that you actually liked. Like, I just don't understand the whole point of lying. Like, why would you lie about your books that you either enjoyed or didn't enjoy? There's no point to that. If you guys would like to answer these questions yourselves, you can feel free to in the comments below. Otherwise, if you would like to do this tag yourselves, I will leave the questions down in the description for you guys. And as always, if you guys did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you're not already and you'd like to be, hit the button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.